Hello, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. The horror show at Extreme Rules actually started out just fine, but it very, very quickly divulged into much more than a horror show, much more than everything that we could have possibly imagined to go wrong actually went wrong, and we're going to talk about all of it because the Extreme Rules horror show was more like a horrible show. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's horrible show at Extreme Rules review and reaction show. Time to bring the hammer down on this piece of crap. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Are any of us surprised? Are any of us surprised? I don't think so. I want to sound off first by asking you all, what was your favorite part of tonight's show? I can tell you right off the bat, my favorite part of tonight's show was the women's match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I thought that was a fantastic match. I thought it was great for Nikki Cross. I thought Bayley did some of her best heel work, and I thought the show was just fine up until that point. We had a decent tables match to start off the show. Mildly predictable, a little bit boring at times, but as we all expected, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura have found themselves the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, and that's just fine with me. It wasn't a great match, it was a good match, but it did have one hell of a table spot to end it all, and it was pretty impressive, and it was a nice way to finish the match off. I thought they did just fine. But the rest of the show was nothing more than a series of poop hammers raining down on our heads consistently, one after the other, and for very differing reasons. First off, let's bring the hammer down on what they did with the United States Championship. Poor Apollo Crews finally gets his hands on the United States Championship and then mysteriously vanishes off of television for weeks. They are building this matchup at Extreme Rules with MVP, which is a whole nother can of worms we've opened up already. We're not going to go back into why he shouldn't even be involved and why it should be Lashley and not MVP. But now we have this match set up, and they have weeks to tell us what's going on with Apollo Crews because he's been missing in action. And they've been building it all on the back of MVP, which has been making me absolutely furious. And what do? They tell us tonight, oh, by the way, Apollo Crews isn't going to be here tonight either. We're not going to get a United States Championship match, and then they won't even tell us the truth. They give us some BS story about Apollo Crews being injured from a full Nelson. What? What? That's only one of multiple what moments on this night. What moments? Maybe we should make that a thing on this show. What? What the hell are you guys doing? MVP being the focal point as the villain is a what moment in and of itself, but I don't understand it. What kind of mind frame are these people in that they can't even go out of their way to tell us the truth about the situation with Apollo Crews, which, as many people know and as many people have been saying, Apollo Crews contracted the virus, and he was one of the 30 people that were put on hiatus right now when they had that massive infection going on in the Performance Center a few weeks back. Be honest with us. Well, they're going to try to use it in a creative manner. They're going to try to make it storyline. Don't do us any favors, because when you try to make things story-based, you ruin them. Case in point, the eye for an eye match. What does it mean? Seth Rollins wants to know. You know what it means? It means you're going to throw up, Seth. That's what's going to happen. That was the most gruesome thing we've seen for the eye for an eye match, which was actually very, very good. The match itself was nicely paced. It had some good spots. Some really great moments for Rey Mysterio and some really good moments for Seth Rollins. And then the finish happens. And they gave us a fake eyeball. And there was less blood tonight than there was when Rey Mysterio injured his eye the first time on the steps, when Seth Rollins did it the first time, rather. Where was the blood? The eye is popping out quote unquote, and there's no blood. Rey Mysterio screaming he's not throwing up. But Seth Rollins, the Messiah, Mr. Tough Guy, been doing the best stuff he's been doing for in a long time, and he's made to look like a complete wuss, a complete jackass with a stomach that can't handle the fake eyeball. There was nothing for him to be throwing up about. There was nothing gruesome about it. And how do you just make yourself throw up? Did he have some Epitac underneath the ring and he took a little shot of it and then let me go throw up? Blah! What does it mean? Blah! What the hell? What? Are you kidding me? You took a perfectly decent match, ruined it with the stipulation in the first place, and then failed to deliver on the stipulation. Everybody's reporting, oh, there's going to be CGI. Oh, they're going to do something cinematic. No, they gave you a fake fucking eyeball. It was probably one of those candy gum eyeballs that you can get out of the 25-cent dispenser over down at the Key Food. What is wrong with them? The biggest wrestling company in the world fancies themselves an entertainment company. They can't even have an eyeball extraction on TV. If you can't do it, don't promise it. What? And then, this is a little bit, look, let's take it down a notch, because I don't want to joke too much about this, but let's talk about the match that really disappointed me the most, because I was very much looking forward to seeing Sasha Banks versus Asuka on this show. One-on-one, I knew there was going to be some kind of stupid shenanigans because Bayley was going to be at ringside and Kyrie was going to be at ringside. I didn't want there to be shenanigans. I thought for sure, especially since Bayley won earlier in the night by cheating, that we were going to have a straight-up match between Sasha and Asuka. I was totally prepared to see Asuka take the pinfall. I wasn't even going to complain about it. She clearly is an interim champion because of Becky Lynch's sudden pregnancy, which is also the fault of Seth Rollins. And it would have been fine. It would have made Sasha ascend to the next level, put her at equal standing with Bayley, and then that feud would be able to develop maybe by the time we get to SummerSlam, which is only 4 weeks away, so it's not really enough time, but if that was the plan, then fine. I was all for it, and I was ready to see this match because they are two of the greatest women's wrestlers the WWE has ever seen step through their doors. Dream match type of stuff. And they delivered. They delivered for the first 15 minutes of this championship match. And it was echoing what we seen in the match earlier in the evening from the other two ladies. And I feel like I jinxed it. I feel like it's my fault because I sat there on my couch and I swear to God, right before the spot in question that we're about to talk about, I said, man, tonight I'm going to have to go and tell my sledgeheads and sit there on this show in front of this camera and really give props to the women on this night. Really, really performing at a nice level. Outperforming the men, if you ask me. Their matches were great. And I was really invested, and I was really happy with the match we were getting with Sasha and Asuka. And then one of two things happened. Somebody called Vince Russo and asked them how they should finish this match. That's the first thing, and I feel like that's what happened. But I don't think anybody talks to Vince Russo anymore. But that's what I felt like happened. It was so bad. Or the more reality of the situation. Sasha Banks goes up with Asuka. Asuka tries to execute a German suplex from the top rope. Sasha Banks tries to land on her feet, but comes down on her knees. Doesn't seem to bother her too much. She goes to follow up, goes back up into the corner to come off the top with a move of her own, and slips. Her knee, I guess, gave out on her, and then she was in the middle of the ring, almost crying, almost in tears. She removed her knee padding to relieve the stress and the pressure that was put on this knee that was obviously in pain, and it looked to me like Sasha Banks was legitimately injured in this moment. And if you go back and watch again, and more than watch, listen carefully. You have Sasha saying things like, I'm supposed to be champion, after that spot happened, and she was clearly not herself, and the match took a whole different road until its finish. It was confusing. It was kind of I felt like it just went completely downhill because Sasha was legitimately injured. That's the only way, because they couldn't have possibly wrote this crap, right? And maybe, not maybe, they definitely botched the finish. You could see that they tried to pull the same thing twice. But the amount of confusion between the girls and the amount of stalling that was going on and the audible screaming and lack of true celebration by Sasha Banks when she finally won the championship, which is a whole nother thing wrong with this situation. Now, when I say I want to take it down a notch for this, because I hope that Sasha's not really hurt. I really hope that that's not what happened. I don't want to believe that it's just bad creative, but I feel like it's something more that happened here. And I hope that she's okay. That's my biggest thing here. But now that that's out of the way, let's drop the hammer down on this, because the only way to forgive this is if it was done in the emergency situation that occurred. Okay? But if Bayley decided to put on the referee shirt and execute the 3 count, and both of these girls think that that actually counts and means something, then they're delusional. They're delusional. The whole situation divulged into WCW type booking territory, and I didn't understand what was happening. The referee was taken out by Asuka when he got spit in his face, which opened the door for Bayley to give the win to her partner. And it was just very strange. Very strange. It felt like none of it was supposed to happen. Everything that did happen kind of happened twice because it didn't happen right the first time. And when the match is over, Sasha Banks is sitting on the outside. And to me, I could have sworn I heard her screaming. And not celebratory screaming. They weren't showing her that much. Bayley was taking the lead in that situation. And she very, very quickly exited off of the entrance stage to get in the back, saying the phrase repeatedly, "I'm supposed to be champion." Which to me kind of means like, shit, I just fucked this up. I'm supposed to be champion and now I can't be because I just blew my knee out. Which I certainly hope is completely false. And I hope that I'm just speculating, and that is the worst case scenario. I do not want that to be the truth, but that's what I believe happened to my poor Sasha and Asuka during what was going down as the best match of the night up until that moment. It was a shame just how much they were really, really delivering, all for it to come crashing down in such a terrible, terrible way. And hopefully, as we said, Sasha Banks is okay. They followed this matchup with the Dolph Ziggler Drew McIntyre match, and this was the most hysterical moment of the night. I laughed and laughed and laughed my ass off because, one, Dolph Ziggler finally decided to let everybody in on his little stipulations, right? So the first part of the stipulation is we're actually going to have an Extreme Rules match at Extreme Rules, which we all should have seen coming because they didn't have one officially on the card. So obviously Dolph Ziggler's going to make his match an Extreme Rules match. But let's make it interesting. Let's make it Extreme Rules only for Dolph. Drew McIntyre cannot take advantage of the Extreme Rules stipulation. That's fine. Dolph Ziggler's trying to stack the deck. He also adds the caveats of if Drew McIntyre intentionally gets himself counted out or disqualified, Dolph Ziggler will be handed the World Heavyweight Championship. That's okay. Dolph Ziggler, stacking the deck. You would think, in this scenario, with so much in his favor, he was going to win this thing. So I'm thinking it would be interesting if the WWE decides to give this to Dolph Ziggler in this moment, and then we get to see Otis. Remember Otis? Remember him? He's been missing for a while. I don't know where he or the Money in the Bank contract is. Maybe he's hanging out with Apollo Crews, if you get my drift. But I thought maybe we would see Otis cash in on Dolph Ziggler after he defeated Drew McIntyre with all the cards on the table in his favor. There's no way Dolph could lose. But he did, because that's the Dolph Ziggler's character's job. I really don't think there's any way Dolph Ziggler's character has any value to the show whatsoever after losing a match that there's no way he should have lost. No way. And if he was smart, if the WWE was even smart, to make it even more interesting, Dolph Ziggler should have made only one stipulation, and that would have been that he cannot be beaten with a Claymore kick. He should have took the signature move away from the champ so that what happened tonight didn't happen. Dolph Ziggler beat the shit out of Drew McIntyre. He hit him with chairs. He put him through tables. He was coming off the top of the friggin' top rope onto the outside, onto Drew McIntyre. Very impressive stuff. Really took the champ to the woodshed. And then one Claymore kick. Bang! Dolph Ziggler goes back to the catering hall. What value does he possess now? He is the perennial loser of the WWE. A guy that can go out there, give you a damn good match, but he's just never going to go anywhere. Why do you care about Dolph Ziggler now? What more could he possibly have done to put the odds in his favor? What kind of a schmuck does he look like now? He looks worthless. Terrible. Terrible. Oh, well, he had all the heat and all the momentum. It was just that one kick that took him out. So what? So what? He lost a match that he shouldn't have lost. And it was his call. He's got nobody to blame but himself. And while we're talking about this, before we get to the final segment of the night and the end of the show, which was, whoa, we'll get to that. Having Dolph Ziggler hold out all this time on what he wanted the stipulation to be made this even more underwhelming. Because think about how much better if I were the booker and they came to me and said, what would you do with this? This is where we want to end. An Extreme Rules match, Dolph Ziggler does all this shit, blah, blah, blah. You say, well, first of all, you tell him that. You tell him it straight out. Boom, Drew McIntyre, this is what we're going to do at Extreme Rules, and I'm going to torture you for the next couple of weeks with examples of how you are going to suffer at the hands of Dolph Ziggler at Extreme Rules. And then week after week, Dolph Ziggler attacks Drew McIntyre in a different way, leaning towards one of the stipulations. He beats his ass with a chair. 1 week he puts him through a table. 1 week he beats his ass with a ladder. 1 week he screams in his face. Whatever it is, all the things we saw Dolph Ziggler do tonight, he could do it week after week and then say, this is just a taste. This is just a sample of everything that's coming your way when we have our Extreme Rules, but just for me. Because you can't do it. And he could be an asshole with it and tease him about it and really, really amp it up and make it interesting. Make us care about the match. Make us feel like maybe Dolph Ziggler has a chance. But for the last 3-4 weeks since he's magically showed up here to challenge the champ for no reason, we've had no reason to believe he was going to win this match. We had no reason to invest in a new push for Dolph Ziggler, and they did it because they're lazy. They're just so lazy, and they don't know even what they have when they have it right in front of them. Something as easy as that. It's all it came. It came to me like that. Boom. All it took. That's what I meant to say. It's all it came. That's not what I meant. It sounds disgusting. It's not what I meant at all. It's all it took. Boom. It came to me. That's how that was supposed to go, in case you were wondering where the came from. Anyway, moving on to what was absolutely terrible. Terrible television, the Swamp Fight. Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. We had random unknown, nobody man set on fire, and Braun Strowman laughing about it. We had Alexa Bliss in the swamp, because reasons. Oh, they were on mixed match challenge together. Is Braun Strowman in love with Alexa Bliss? As far as you know, does he have like some connection on TV that we're aware of that would make this little spot for Alexa Bliss showing up as Sister Abigail for a split second, like, make sense? Or is it just based off of, no, they were mixed match challenge and they made Google eyes at each other one time? What the fuck is Alexa Bliss doing in the swamp? She's just a vision put there by Bray Wyatt. Stop it! What? What? And then this match itself was not even a match. And they failed tremendously at catching lightning in a bottle for the second time. The cinematic matches have got to go. They got to go. I loved the Boneyard match. I thought it was fantastic. It was a great way for The Undertaker to go out, if in fact he stays retired from this point out. I loved that match. I thought the way they did it was great. But ever since that match, every match since then, they've done it in a cinematic style, whether it has something to do with Bray Wyatt, whether it was the Money in the Bank match, whether it was Eye for an Eye, which I don't know how that was cinematic because they didn't do anything special with it, have been epic, epic, epic failures. And in this case, they're trying too hard to take the horror show moniker literally. Why they had to label this show the horror show based off of one match on a show that's supposed to be full of extreme rules, I don't know. Because by putting the focus on this, we waited all night for this horror show. I'm sitting here sweating balls off in July, and I'm watching TV, and I feel like I should be putting a costume on for Halloween. Is it Halloween time yet? Did we miss the summer in 2020? Is it gotten that bad that we all don't remember August and September and we're all just here on Halloween watching this special from the WWE that shouldn't exist? That's what it felt like. I'm in some sort of a time warp watching this ridiculous skit where Braun Strowman's fighting himself. You got Strowman there in the goat mask staring at the other Strowman with the no mask, and there's water around, so I guess it's a swamp. And they keep going quick cuts, like into we see an alligator's eyeball, and then a snake with a woman with a snake. Oh my goodness, woo! And then Bray Wyatt pops up, and then he's gone. And then Braun Strowman, I guess, was fighting a couple of guys. I don't know who these guys were. I don't know if they were multiple incarnations of Bray, because I couldn't see shit, because everything was too dark, just like a real horror movie. Isn't that great? That's why I stopped watching horror movies. Can't see shit. They leave everything too dark. And that's what they did here. Way too much darkness, way too much randomness. They kept showing the same shot of the lily pads on the swamp, and nothing ever popped out of them. They obviously were inspired by Friday the 13th. They ripped off the poster and put it up online today for everybody to see, so now we knew exactly what we were going to see. And if that was your focus here, then you need to be fired. Because we're watching a wrestling show, and this fight, swamp fight, was very heavy on the swamp, but very light on the fight. And in the little bit of action that we did see, for the most part, Braun Strowman was outmatched. He didn't know where he was at. There were times where it looked like maybe he had Bray on the ropes. Then there were times when I'm watching this thing, I couldn't tell the difference because there's just bodies popping up and there's just all wet beard and hair everywhere, and I don't know which guy is which at some points in this thing. They both got all tatted up and wearing stupid shirts. Who's who here? I couldn't tell. In and out of the water. And then the little logo comes up in the bottom, signifying that the show's coming to an end, right? And Braun Strowman's still walking around. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then suddenly, Bray Wyatt comes up like he's Jason Voorhees. And grabs the big monster by the gullet. He's got the mandible claw, and he pulls him into the water. They both disappear. It's all dramatic. It's so scary. And nobody comes back up. Everybody's dead. And then the water starts to turn red. And I'm like, oh, okay, so now somebody's dead. There's blood in the water. But no, it's not blood in the water. It's just red because the Fiend comes out of the fucking swamp. The Fiend that has had nothing to do with anything of swamp-like nature. And Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, who is only a part of the Firefly Funhouse gimmick. And I get that they could be blending the two because they're both properties of Bray Wyatt. But my God, who won? The Fiend? The Fiend won a match he wasn't in. Is he the champion? What? The championship wasn't at stake in this swamp, right? But now, is that what you did? This was just a really long setup to get to what's going to be a really stupid match with the Fiend? What? Do you know how much more compelling this whole angle was without the Fiend? He should have no part in it. Bray Wyatt didn't have to win tonight. But did he win tonight? Last we saw Bray Wyatt, he went under the water with Braun. And then the Fiend pops up. That's not at all what I was expecting. I expected to see Bray Wyatt get his ass beat by Braun Strowman. Because think about it. If Braun Strowman failed against Bray Wyatt here and now in the swamp, what the hell does he need the Fiend for? He's already beaten him. He clearly is in the man's head. He clearly got the best of him tonight. What's the Fiend for? You don't need him, right? That would have been like Mankind calling out Cactus Jack without needing to. You know when Mankind and Triple H back in the day, Mankind just couldn't get the better of Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Triple H had the man's number, so it forced Mankind to have to go back to an even more sadistic version of Mick Foley, and thus we had Cactus Jack in the WWE. That would make sense. Here, Bray Wyatt has steadily and consistently gotten the best of Braun Strowman here, and he's bringing out the Fiend, what, for just some extra added power? For shock factor? 'Cause it's a horror show? Boo! I'm so scared. Holy shit. This show really, really pissed me off by the time it was over. Because it's very rare that the WWE shows any potential whatsoever. But as we said, we started off with a decent tables match. We had an excellent SmackDown Women's Championship match. And then it just quickly divulged into the horrible show. And there was no turning back. We had 2 great matches absolutely ruined by a couple of wonky bullshit finishes. Nobody extracted anybody's eye out. Rey Mysterio's eye was out. They said so. We didn't see it. Not that I wanted to see it, but it definitely wasn't convincing. Sasha Banks and Asuka tore it down until Sasha tore something in her knee. And then the rest of it just became WCW nonsense. And then Dolph Ziggler becoming the most useless man in all of professional wrestling. Losing to Drew McIntyre, which we all thought was going to be the case anyway. And then the swamp fight, which was barely even a fight, was barely visible, and was nowhere near as interesting or impressive as the Boneyard match. And that's all you need to know about Extreme Rules. A horror show, it definitely was, and not for any of the right reasons. Now, before we go, let's do what I promised. Earlier today, let's see if we could get the screen up here without everything going crazy. I don't usually do these type of things, but since it's a special night and it's pay-per-view night and we got a little extra time, let's see if this works. Here we go. All right, we're on my screen here. You see, we got some Baby Yoda action going on the desktop here. All right, check it out. I put up this poll for y'all. Y'all, where am I from? New York or friggin' Kentucky? All right, let's do this. Let's see if this works. All right, I think that's good. Hopefully you guys can see. This was the poll we put up this afternoon for you guys to take. Let's try to center this screen out just a little bit better. There we go. All right. Hey, yo! Let's get ready for the horror show by choosing which cinematic match do you think will not deliver. Let's see the results of our little poll here. All right. You see that the eye for an eye match, without a doubt, definitely took the top spot. But, obviously, the correct answer here was both. Both. Let's take a look at some of the comments here, because you guys, I promise you, the comments, we'll take a look, because some of you guys deserve a little bit of credit as well. My buddy Googer12, I just pray they hide the eye, kind of like when Ray first got his eye messed up. Hey, listen, hide the eye. They didn't show the eye, so they definitely hid it somewhere. I don't know where, if Ray had it in his pocket, if he was holding it in the back of his hat or his mask or whatever it was, but suddenly he had a big fake gumball eyeball in his hand that he was trying to pass off as his actual eyeball. And unfortunately, we barely seen it, so it was not really convincing. Ray's fan, my buddy Ray's fan, says swamp fight all the way. Bray's really entertaining. I feel like Eye for an Eye will just be really cheesy. I don't think they can pull it off. Bray's the safe bet. And you would normally be correct in that assessment, my friend. But that was not the case tonight. Bray failed us. Bray absolutely failed us. This was not the best of the cinematic stuff, and I really wish it would just kind of go away. Phil James, sup Phil? What do you think of EC3 going back to Impact Wrestling? Sorry I didn't answer the Extreme Rules question. I'm just not interested in the pay-per-view. And I'm only addressing and answering this question because I'm not interested in talking about this pay-per-view anymore, and I would love to field this question. EC3 going back to Impact? I don't think he should have ever left in the first place. I think he's going to be just fine along with Eric Young and anybody else that went back there. Gallows and Anderson, they'll all be better for it in the end. Jack! Big Jack Reacher. Did I sleep so long I woke up at Halloween? Exactly. It's exactly how I felt. These are some of the correct guys. GQ James coming in. Neither. You were correct. Kairos, you were correct. Neither of these matches delivered. Let's take a look. Gaming Francis. Eye for an Eye will not deliver well. I understand suspending disbelief, but not even a 5-year-old will believe one of these men are going to have their eyeball ripped out of their skulls. I'm sure the swamp fight will work out. Bray is brilliant, and the cinematic matches work for characters like Bray. You would think so, wouldn't you? You would think. But that is definitely not the case. Not the case. Both of these matches did not deliver. So if you said one or the other, you're correct, but the true correct answer was neither. And I actually should have put that as a choice in the poll, but I wanted you guys to have to pick one of the matches. Vlad, Alex, I think the Eye for an Eye match will be even worse than the Swamp match. And isn't it crazy that that's not the case? That the Eye for an Eye match actually was the better of the two matches, and the Eye for an Eye match actually had a better finish than the Sasha and Asuka match? Isn't that something fucking crazy, you guys? I don't even want to imagine Ray losing and then rushing to pick his eye back up from the floor and running backstage, holding it for dear life, which is practically what we saw, Vlad. So I'm sorry you had to experience something you really did not want to see. And thankfully it wasn't as gruesome as Seth Rollins wanted us to believe. Blah, what does it mean? I'm throwing up. Blah, blah. Idiot. And you wonder why the guy blocked me, right? Who gives a shit? It's Jonathan Hunter. I don't know if you guys can see this on the screen. It's down at the bottom. Jonathan Hunter. It's probably going to be a horror show tonight, but not because of the matches, but it's going to be horrible to watch. Eye for an Eye. I thought AEW did that match. Oh, thank you for reminding me. Yes, my friend, they did, and they did it better. It wasn't the greatest match either, but it definitely finished more convincingly. This pay-per-view is going to be like every other pay-per-view, I can tell. And you were correct. You were correct, my friend Jonathan Hunter. Let's now go into the mirror. Look at that. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that was going to happen. Let's get on out of here, you guys. Thank you all so very much. That's all we got to say for the Extreme Rules Horror Show. It was so bad by the end that it ruined my entire night. It really did. I thought for sure I was going to be sitting here singing a different tune just by the tone of the first two matches, but boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. And now we have to sit through Raw tomorrow night and I guess find out what actually happened with Sasha. I guess find out what actually happens to Dolph. Maybe. I don't know. Do we care? I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. I don't even know where I am right now thanks to this fucking show. It was absolutely terrible. But if you want to watch something a little bit better and worth your time, check out my latest edition of the Sledgehammer series where we drew the true scariest thing in all of professional wrestling, the legendary dead man, The Undertaker. I took a shot at trying to draw The Undertaker, and I must say, I'm happy with it. I think it's fantastic, which is why I put it up for all of you guys. Watch it come to life on the page, time-lapse style. You guys know the deal. Go check it out. It'll be in the annotations up above. And do yourself a favor and go watch The Last Ride. If you haven't watched The Last Ride, it's the best thing on the WWE Network right now, especially if you're a huge Taker fan like myself. And there's a new episode dropping tonight, Tales from the Dead Man, and I'm going to go enjoy me some of that right now. Thank you guys as always for watching. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball. The most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. And now it's time to do your part. And if you're not already a Sledgehead and a member of this channel, hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss the Sledgehammer series. You don't miss me bringing the hammer down on Raw and SmackDown this week. And you will always be notified when we drop something new here if you hit that notification bell. We got a couple of other Undertaker-themed videos coming to this channel celebrating the life of one of the superstars that have been extremely special to me throughout my entire life. He deserves it. You guys deserve it. And it's coming at you, so make sure you're subscribed and notified so you don't miss it. If you had a good time here tonight bringing the hammer down on the Extreme Rules Horrible Show, hit that thumbs up, let me know you enjoyed the show, and then share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they did not enjoy this show as much as you and I did. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. What does it mean? It means I'm going to vomit. What a wuss. God.